Hello everyone, and welcome to batch 244 in the freeze dryer. And that's what I'm prepping today is, can you guess what that is? That's raw eggs. It's beaten raw eggs, 18 per tray. I did 4 trays, and in my freeze dryer I have to freeze 12 eggs, and then because the shelves are at an angle, everything runs towards the back. So then I come along after it freezes for about an hour, maybe 90 minutes, and then I spin it around, and then I put 6 more eggs beaten on there, and it just kind of runs to the back. So I can get 18 eggs on each shelf. Now that sounds like a bit of a hassle, but you know what? The ability to freeze dry food in my own house, it has to come with a little bit of hassle. And the last time I explained what I did with some liquids to do them, someone told me in the comments that now if you were to get a freeze dryer, you don't have an issue with your rack being at an angle because they angled the drum and not the shelves. So if you were getting a new freeze dryer, you wouldn't have this issue. Also, people have been known to have racks that fit into their refrigerator freezer that they can just slide the racks into to pre-freeze them. And that works out especially if you want to cut freeze time because your loads are back to back and you're just running your machine like crazy. I run my machine like crazy, but I run mine so that, I have time. I'm real lackadaisical about when something's done. It doesn't matter to me. I always add time because, and I know I have one dear subscriber who told me a few different times it's unnecessary wear and tear on the machine, and it is. I totally agree. But it's just not something that's a priority for me to get to it in time, and I know it should be. It's just not, because I have so many other irons in the fire at one time, and I have to, weigh that accordingly. So, that's where we're at. So this is the eggs. Let me get my spatula and I'll show you what they look like. Alrighty, so that's what they look like. That's just marker on my finger. That's what they look like. And that, like I said, they're raw, not cooked. Normally I just do cooked eggs. I have done some raw just because now I'm starting to think, I don't have chickens. Things are getting more expensive. And a few months back, there was a time when I walked into the store and there were no eggs at all. And an example of how some people can get real belligerent and loud in a store. We're walking by and I'm like, oh, Sam, we're not getting eggs here today. They're all out. There aren't any eggs. This other woman's walking by. She starts screaming, there's no effing eggs in this effing store. How am I going to feed my effing kids? Oh my gosh, she was so loud and screaming. It was like, oh my gosh, people just looked at her and walked away. And it just makes me so glad I have a freeze dryer. Makes me so glad that if things get that bad, can you imagine? Like, there was another store that was at Walmart, and we had just left Aldi where there were plenty of eggs, but we had decided not to get them, or I forgot them. I don't remember, whatever. And I said, Sam, I guess we're not getting eggs here. So, but anyway, yeah, that's what happened. And so it was walking distance, the Aldi to the Walmart, and she just maybe never thought to go check another store. I don't know. It's just that Walmart was out of eggs. But anyway, okay, there I go rambling again. So to rehydrate them, obviously you would just add water, and let me show you the paperwork. Well, here's a little bit of paperwork. What I did with my eggs here is the 18 eggs in one case was 215 grams. So that means each egg is almost 12 grams, 6 eggs is almost 72, and then 3 eggs is almost 36. So about 12 grams an egg. And because of the way I'm packaging them, which here is 6 eggs in that package, I will probably put 72 grams on there as well. or I'll put 1 egg equals approximately 12 grams. And the reason I'll do that is because if I grab this package of 6 eggs and I only want 2 eggs for a recipe or something, I can weigh it out. And it's something, it's really good to have a scale in your kitchen, or to know how many grams is in a teaspoon approximately, which really isn't that easy to figure out. But I do have this kitchen scale, and then I have another one that do grams, ounces, and pounds, and kilograms. But I really want a scale that has no battery, that doesn't use a battery. This one uses a battery, as does my other one. I did buy a, the scale that has the little weights on one end, and it has grams. It's just too inconvenient, because it's just really inconvenient. What I need is something like this. And I just opened up my cupboard. This is what I use every day to feed the dogs, because they get between 3/4 pound and a pound of dog food every day. So I need something obviously on a much smaller scale. Like this will do 100 grams. I need something that's going to go down a lot lower, but still have a dial that's good enough to read, that is totally independent of batteries. So if you know of something like that specifically, let me know. Put a link in your comment, whether it's on Amazon or wherever you've seen it. And at this point, I'm taking into consideration any price point, because just to get away from the batteries, which are $5 a battery for my electronic scale, you know what? It's just definitely better to get away from the button cells and get away from batteries altogether. So right here I have 18 eggs in this one, 6 eggs in this, and with those last 2 trays, this is actually one whole tray, and this is, the second tray, these 3 here. I'll probably do 12, 12, and 12 for the next ones, and then obviously that's not a total of 20 Mylar bags. So what I have here is some beans that I've already weighed out, so that once I get the eggs sealed, I can just move right on to the beans, so that I do, I know I always tell you this, I do 20 at a time, because the oxygen absorbers come 22 a pack. I don't like to reseal them, because I don't have really good luck with that. So that's what I'm doing today. My raw eggs that were freeze dried, these garbanzo beans, chickpeas, and some small red beans, excuse me. And here's the paperwork on that, because sometimes I leave that out. Let's see, this was batch 244. Each tray had 18 large eggs, which were 6 dozen total, and they were only $1 a dozen, so this batch cost me $6, and that's, independent of the electric and the extra electric that I added. Here I just put my notes that I let 12 freeze for 60 to 90 minutes, then I turn the tray, add 6 more, so the amount levels off. Here I just put 18 eggs equaled 218 grams in the first tray I measured, 215 grams in the second tray that I measured. I just like to keep track of that as well. Normally I put it over here, right under that description of what's in there, but this time I had already used up a bunch of lines, and I don't like having one load take up a bunch of lines in my notebook. My freeze dryer ran for a total of 78 hours and 20 minutes. Now of that, 20 hours was added time. That's whenever the machine says, hey, I'm done, and I come along and say, okay, well, I'm not ready for you, and I just add hours. And I did that twice. I added 2 hours, 10 hours twice, and I always just keep track of that. And the way I keep track of that is I use a dry erase pen, and right on the side of my freeze dryer, because then it just wipes off with a paper towel and Windex. I have the stainless steel freeze dryer. And then that meant it really only needed to have 58 hours and 20 minutes. But then if you recall, at the beginning of every one of my batches, I actually jump up the initial dry time from 7 hours to 24, which adds another 17, which brought the time that would have been necessary down to 41 hours and 20 minutes. But you can actually take another hour off of that wasn't necessary, because I had done a 10-hour freeze cycle, because I was freezing the eggs and then spinning them around and adding more eggs after the first hour, so that allowed those other eggs to freeze. So if you have a new freeze dryer, or you're doing less than 12 eggs, or if you're doing 18 and you pre-froze them, well, you could have even less time. You need about 40 hours total runtime beginning to end to freeze dry 6 dozen eggs on 4 racks in a medium-sized harvest rate freeze dryer. That's what I prepped today, and let me know how things are in your neck of the woods, and what did you prep today. Be blessed, everyone.